back with another one. The one and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. Today I'm going to react to a video with probably my favorite liberal, number one liberal favorite. I would argue that he's actually a conservative in liberals' clothing and doesn't really know it. Like, you know, kind of like the wolf in sheep's clothing ordeal. And then you also got sheep in wolf's clothing as well. But I would argue he's a conservative and liberal clothing, but really doesn't know it. Same thing with a cat like Stephen A. Smith and Charlamagne the God. You know, they say they're liberal, Democrat, or whatever, but when you hear some of the things that they say, they're very, very conservative. Let's get into it after we give you a word from promopalace.biz.
Looking for music marketing and promotion? Then look no further than Promo Palace LLC, your one-stop shop for all music promotion services. Services include Spotify playlist pitching, YouTube video promotion, record pool promotion, blog placements, radio airplay promotion, SoundCloud promotion, and much more. With over 2,000 customers and over 10 years of experience in online promotion, Promo Palace LLC is a company you can trust. For more info, please go to promopalace.biz. See you there.
You heard a beautiful lady. If you need online marketing promotions, check us out, promopalace.biz, one-stop shop, and we're consistently adding new services, especially with influencers. We're always trying to add new influencers, Instagram, TikTok, you know, and YouTube influencers. I've definitely got to really slipping on my YouTube influencers, and I'm gonna be focusing on stepping that up for the new year. But let's get into it. This is actually Dave Rubin, and I actually like Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin's gay, and so I'm not a homophobe. I would actually, you know what? I probably would hang out with Dave Rubin. I probably would go out to the bar and get a couple of drinks with Dave Rubin. Even though I said I never really would probably hang out with gay people. Like, it's just not really my lifestyle. And it gives, you know, it gives people the wrong impression sometimes. But I like Dave Rubin. He doesn't really. There's the thing. Some people just like they gotta flaunt it in your face all the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, it's not really my cup of tea. I don't really agree with your lifestyle, so you don't gotta flaunt your lifestyle in my face, because I don't flaunt my lifestyle in nobody else's face. But you know, let's get on with it. Rubin report. Bill Maher putting Neil deGrasse Tyson in his place.
After we had that conversation on his show, and we obviously talked about much more, and I even got him to say that if Cali brought lockdowns back and mandates and everything else, that he actually would move to Florida. That's a pretty big concession for the, you know, the gold standard of liberalism in America. Here is Bill Maher on his show 1 week later, talking about the pandemic and our reaction and all the subsequent problems.
Now we're getting some information after a while. We have time to find out just how bad the collateral damage has been. Here's just a few cases. The pandemic erased 2 decades of progress in math and reading. See, right away, I got to say, this pisses me off. I see these headlines all the time. The pandemic didn't do that. The way we handled the pandemic did that. The pandemic certainly was a thing. But let's not just say the pandemic, because it was not written in stone that we had to handle it the way we did. ACT scores are the lowest in 30 years. Anxiety and depression way up. The body mass index increase doubled for kids 2 to 19. Drug overdose deaths. Murders way up. Inflation at a 40-year high. Domestic violence increased. Oh, and my favorite.
Before he finishes, he said inflation at a 40-year high. I'm 43. Let's go.
Car crashes. They couldn't figure this out. Like way up. And they're finally I love this. This is the expert said. You know what it is? People just went fucking mental. They just went nuts. They're like, I'm home. The fucking kids are here all the time. My stupid husband is here all the time. I'm just gonna.
Before he goes in, like, I'm single, self-employed. I work from home. I podcast every day. I'm working on music promos and marketing every day for customers. I chose my lifestyle. I chose to live this lifestyle because um, I want to be successful at everything I do in life. I put all my time and energy focusing on that. I'm not really looking for love, maybe companionship, but I'm not really looking for love. And most people couldn't live my lifestyle. Most people couldn't accept my lifestyle. They couldn't deal with my lifestyle, handle my lifestyle. And my lifestyle to me is a very happy one. It's a very non-stressful lifestyle. I got a dog and she gets on my nerves enough. And that's all I need, when she don't listen. And so most people being locked down for those amount of months, they weren't gonna be able to do it unless you're just a stay-at-home person. And that's the thing. Like some people, you got a lot of people that they go to work and when they get off work, they just want to stay home. They don't want to do nothing else because they've already been out. They're working. They're out in the world, you know. And when they're done, they want to stay home. But there's there's a lot of people that they're not trying to stay home even after they get home from work. They're trying to be out and about and staying home every day and living my lifestyle is almost like self-imprisonment. I mean, I walk every day. I walk my dog. I might go get a soda. If I need something from the grocery store, I'm going to get something from the grocery store, convenience store, whatever. But most people can't live with living my type of lifestyle. And that's why lockdowns, they didn't affect me. They didn't really affect my business one bit. Now, inflation is affecting my business far more than lockdowns. Lockdown, business was booming during lockdown because my customers couldn't promote. They couldn't do shows. They couldn't do shows. There was no hand-to-hand passing out flyers and none of that during these lockdowns and all that. Nobody was accepted. No, people weren't even dapping down and shaking hands until recently. So yeah, man. Most people couldn't deal with it. They just mentally went crazy having to just switch up their whole lifestyle. And it was somewhat forced on them.
Take it out on the highway, and they did.
What you don't have is the benefit of the alternative scenarios to see how they would have come out, to be able to judge whether what did happen was a lesser evil than other
my gosh,
options
here we go
that
again.
would have unfolded.
Here we go.
And so suppose
You know what? I gotta stop this again real quick. Lesser evil. I was talking to my maintenance guys the other day where they had to come fix my heat, and we were talking about all the cats in the apartment complex. Like, I was like, y'all always had this pet cemetery cat problem? He's like, well, we got rid of them once. But we had a rat problem once we got rid of the cat problem. So they came up with a motto: cats are better than rats. That's when you talk about the lesser evil. Cats are better than rats. But there's no lesser evil in you trying to force people how to live, dictate their life. You try to dictate everybody's life for about 6 months, and you try to put fear in them and say that, if you're out and about at the certain times, you'll get locked up and whatnot, and which here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I would tell you, like, it was never a pandemic. It was never a serious problem whatsoever. And I don't know that everybody was following and listening to what they were saying. I just, like, this is the problem I have with Neil deGrasse Tyson now. Your astrophysics, science and stuff like that. It's all good. But, like, when you start getting into politics and you just start having a bias. You got an automatic bias approach to it. It really discredits everything you're saying scientifically, because science isn't supposed to be biased. It's supposed to go off of facts and evidence. And the problem with Neil is he wants to take this liberal stance, which is bias, and you're not going off of facts and evidence all the way. You might be going over some facts and evidence, but you're going over a lot of biasness and emotions. Let's keep it moving.
We do, because other countries handled it differently.
Thank you.
Sweden didn't handle it differently.
Thank you.
Some of the places with the lowest vaccination rates turned
Thank
out
you.
to have the best results.
With really low population density.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, there
Here
are
we
different
go.
factors.
Here we go.
Yes, I think that matters.
Yes, of course it matters.
It's a sort of a different factor.
You just said.
I went through an elevator in New York City.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
Right
but
here.
you just said that we can't make any judgments because we don't live in an alternative universe where America handled it differently. And
Which
I'm
is
saying other
complete
places handled
bullshit,
it differently. That
Neil.
does matter.
Horse shit.
I think it's a legitimate conversation to have. You remember there was talk of herd immunity and how we get there at the outset, and people were shouted down for even raising that prospect. I'm not the scientist you are, but in retrospect.
Well, let's think. Last time they had this problem at this magnitude, how did they get over it? Herd immunity. Duh.
I shouted down the idea that it might have escaped from a lab.
Right.
That was somehow
Yeah.
racist,
Right.
as opposed to.
Of course it was.
If you believed that it came from the wet markets, you were a Democrat, and if you believed it came from a lab, you were a Republican.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
that is good, right? It's good when people, and I know a lot of you, and I when I talk about Bill Maher, I always get a lot of comments. People are like, "Why are you still talking about him? He's never going to get there. He voted for all Democrats last time around." But if someone like him talking about some of this stuff, getting to the truth, better late than never, right? Because he's supporting, as far as I can tell, he's supporting still a guy like Gavin Newsom, who is still for all of these things, or at least did all of these things in the past, right? But him talking about it, waking up some people is good.
You know what? I can't argue with none of that. I can't argue with none of that whatsoever. None of that. This is the problem with liberals. I'm not saying the Republicans are always right, because nobody's always right. But it's like when Democrats are the kings of double standards right now. I mean, they're the kings of double standards. Trump gets caught with classified documents. Oh, it's not the same when Biden does it. Oh, yeah, of course it's not the same, because he shouldn't have had him in the first place, because he wasn't even president at the time. He was vice president. And he had him even longer. He's had him even longer. And this idea that, we gave him up as soon as they found him. Well, no. Yeah. 6 years after, as soon as they found him. Like, their double standards are just, they're just so ridiculous. It's like, like, both of them are double standards on my body, my choice. I've been said that. Like, Republicans are like my body, my choice vaccinations, which or no forced vaccinations. My body, my choice on like forcing vaccinations, which I agree with. And then Democrats are like my body, my choice on abortions, which I disagree with, because not based on being a Christian, because I'm not a Christian or believing in Jesus or Islam or Allah or anybody. I'm a laws of nature guy, and it goes against the laws of nature, And another my body, my choice issue is weed smoking and any kind of drug use. That's a my body, my choice issue, whether they like it or not. And I don't see Republicans or Democrats really. Well, Democrats actually in California, I think, are allowing like legal drug use, but they're not like out there shouting like, pro drug use, my body, my choice, this, that, and the third. So they're really all both double standards on that. But it's always like double standards with the Democrats. I mean, to the extreme. It's just like, it's okay for when Democrats do something, but it's not okay when Republicans do the same exact thing. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in, Paul Pickett Podcast.